Okay, so I'm back, but I'm kind of not fully back. I'm just sort of slowly preparing for the next segment, if we can call it that. Call it a segment like it's a real TV show. Let me just kind of clean up around here. This is my jar of painting materials and brushes. This is literally a stick from a tree, and you can tell it's like blackened at the end because I've on both ends actually, because I use this to draw at times. This is might be the most artsiest fartsiest drawing implement that I have. Literally a stick, and you know, you dip it in ink and you draw with it. And the whole reasoning why you would want to even use something like this is because the end result that you get is different than what you would use if you were to use just a pen, like a dip pen or a brush, right? You know how you might be able to tell sometimes if a mark is made with a brush like this, or if a mark is made with a brush like this, something with the more, you know, finer point. The same applies to this. You could tell if a mark is made, it's going to be different if you use it with a stick. So it's just all sorts of little weird art stuff that I have. And actually, at a certain point, there's a brush. This is the brush I use to clean off my desk of eraser dust. At a certain point, I'd like to show you all the art tools that I have and my general painting desk. You know, maybe once we achieve some kind of milestone on YouTube, maybe, or Twitch, we can kind of make a video, make a segment about that, about all sorts of the weird drawing tools that I have, and art tools and blah blah blah, all of that stuff. Let me clean off this brush here. Not brush, it's a knife. Clean off this knife because it's full of dust. Bacon beer can. This is some shit out of those martial arts novels I used to read. Yeah, I remember, man, it was even one of my art teachers that was like, yeah, you know, you just go out and get a stick and suddenly, you know, you've got an interesting drawing tool, you know? It's definitely like a martial arts kind of thing. There's this one character who got so powerful that he used a stick or a tree branch instead of a sword, and he's called the one who seeks defeat. Oh shit. Did he ever find what he was looking for? That should be your name when you if you ever enter a fighting game tournament. The one who seeks defeat. If you want to be a little more sly about it, you could use just like the Chinese translation of that instead of like just straight up saying it in English. That would be quite ballsy to just say that straight up in English. Show up at a fighting tournament. I am seeking defeat. But then people will that only works, well, actually it works both ways. If you win, it's like, damn, this guy's seeking defeat because he just wins all the time. He can't find an opponent that can defeat him. But then it works as like a really funny joke as well if you end up losing. It's like, yeah, he got what he was looking for. He went 0-3 at Evo or whatever. Speaking of martial arts masters, we can talk about these guys. Nice little transition there. How about that? How about that for a transition? Check this out. We've got these guys. So I talked about them before. They're these models here, the Warlords of Erehwon Samurai Heroes from Warlord Games, and I bought this at the Ottawa Geeked Out event last weekend, and I talked about it before. Really cool set of models. As I mentioned before, they didn't come with three. This particular set is missing 3 models because these are secondhand. But for the price I paid, I thought it was still a really good deal for them. And I actually ended up priming these guys the other night, just using my hand priming technique, painting them black, mixed with black ink mixed with gesso paint and a little black paint. And I just this is probably like 2 layers or so, and I try to apply it quite thinly just so that we're not losing any detail, especially around the face and the hair. It's quite fine details, but they're also quite simple too, which I really like. These models aren't too extravagantly detailed, just enough, I think. Just enough detail. And some of them come in parts, like this guy here. This is the archer. I like that he's like posing, kneeling down. But he has 2 separate parts, which I also primed. This is the sword. He's got his like sword, and I think that attaches just here on his side like this. And he has his stock of arrows. What do they call that? There you go. His like little collection of arrows, and I'll be painting those separately. It'll just be easier to paint them separately like that, just like that. And this one, I talked about this before. This guy's my favorite model from that set. It's the monk like bow wielder, and he's got a bald head and a nice flowing cape, really cool flowing cape. And these models aren't overly detailed, you know, they have just the right amount of details in the right places, and the pose is nice. I'm a big fan of these models, and like I said, if I enjoy painting them, I might end up buying or finding if I can get more from this range. I don't even know what else they sell from Warlords of Erehwon. Here's the fat guy, the fat samurai, bare-chested. This big katana. I think he has the biggest katana out of all of them, and it's still modestly sized, like relative to what you might see in something like Warhammer. It's still modestly sized. It's not crazy. And this guy has a big spiked mace, I guess, and a fur coat. And this guy's a straight up ninja. Straight up ninja. Pretty cool. He's got a rope. This was also a separate piece, and I just glued it on. And I glued the rest of these guys on square bases, because that's all I could find at the moment, just so that I could have something to hold on to that wasn't the actual model itself, just so it's easier to handle and I'm not actually touching the model as I'm painting it. I'll have to source the proper size of base at a later date, but we can actually just focus on painting them. I'm not actually 100% sure when I'm going to get around to painting these guys, but I at least wanted to apply that base coat of primer on, and I actually still have some primer. This is the primer I sort of cooked up for Night Trap as he was painting his model. So yeah, these guys are pretty neat, and I talked about this before, but I'm not 100% sure when I'm going to be able to get around to painting them, but you know, just something to add to the queue, I guess. And that should be pretty fun to work on over time, because yeah, I do like having a bunch of different things just kind of on the go, just because if I get bored of painting one thing, like for example, if I'm bored of painting this Eldar thing, I can always just switch out to something else. Like suddenly I want to do the samurai or whatever. And yeah, like this thing here, I started it a while ago, primed, but never got around to the rest of it, the painting, and I'm kind of getting around to that now. So yeah, just another quick look at those samurai guys in the progress. I don't know when we'll have another update on these samurai dudes. And I'm actually not even sure what kind of color scheme I'm going to go for with them. I'd like them to have a bit of individuality and personality to them, because they do seem like specific individuals, right? But at the same time, I'd like for them to feel cohesive as well, feel like a unit. So I haven't really decided what I'll do about that, but that's a question for another day. I think we'll try and figure that later. So yeah, that's it for those guys. Have any of you guys painted Warlords of Erehwon models before, or samurai models, or historical models before? Let me know in the comments below.